Hi everyone, welcome back to Kelly Coon PT. So this week just have been trying to share some educational information to try to help people have the right tools to start home workouts on their own without getting hurt. And so I think a very, very important part is to talk about the core. I think there's a lot of misinformation out there about what the core actually is. And if we're not careful with this, we're going to create a lot of issues for everyone, especially women struggle with this with pelvic floor issues. So number one is that I think that we need to, with like sit-ups, V-ups, planks, all those things that we designate core exercise, but also with squats and everything else, this is important. But I'm going to focus on like the more of the floor mat exercises for this one. We need to be careful with telling people to draw in their belly button and hold tight through there. Because what's happening is we're stopping our normal breath mechanics, okay? We're cinching in at the pelvis, and I have some videos to show this. We're cinching in and we can't get our normal breathing mechanism, which helps to create our stability. So we should be breathing in and the pressure, the diaphragm is pushing down on the abs and the pelvic floor and blowing out, and it comes up, and that's what creates the right amount of pressure dispersion and tension to create stability through exercises. And what we're doing is we've been teaching people to kind of roll their glutes up and cinch that belly button in with a really tough transverse abdominis contraction, and we're actually not getting, we're blocking that mechanism. So what we want is we want some tension in the abs, but we don't want a cinching in of the abs. I want to try, and if you're doing that and you're either holding your breath through any exercise or you're cinching in and you're seeing a bulge in your lower abdominals, which I'll show a picture of here in a minute, or you're really shallow breathing, you could be contributing to some back pain, hip pain, pelvic floor issues, even neck and shoulder from all that tension through here. So that means that exercise is too intense for you. So you can try and see if you can get the breathing if it's just a habit. If you cannot breathe through that exercise, you don't necessarily need to stop. You just need to find a way to back it off until where you can breathe and then build it back up. It is just very important that we can breathe properly. So I'm going to screen share here some pictures of me in my basement, sharing my postpartum belly. So let's see here. Here's my screen share. Okay, so this is what we call a rib flare. So I want you to be able to see here how my ribs are actually pointing up towards the ceiling, okay? And the back is off the floor, okay? This is really common in a lot of people, especially women tend to do this, and especially postpartum women, because after baby, we've pulled our ribs up to make way for the baby. So truthfully, but if we look at this, a lot of people will look and say that I have an anterior pelvic tilt of my pelvis, which is not true. I have a rib flare there. So if I were to roll my glutes back, I wouldn't be actually fixing the problem. I would be tucking my glutes under and making them less efficient. And what happens is that we create a cinching in. We're using our abdominals to cinch in. We're rolling our glutes, making them less efficient, and we're creating a bulge of pressure. So I have a video of this here. I think it's this one. This one. Okay. So here I am. I'm trying to, actually, let me go back for one video here. This one here first is actually me. If I were to work out and keep that rib flare, what it would look like. Okay. So you see I'm a little flared up there, and you can see this arch in my low back here, okay? So if I were to hold that, see how much pressure that's putting on my low back. That's not gonna feel good, okay? So a lot of people are letting themselves flare those ribs up. So that's with just a simple overhead lift. I'm just doing simple core exercises. Now imagine if I went into like a full V-up, and there I am with a double, and you can see this bulge of pressure right there. Not that I don't have a few pounds to lose, but that's pressure right there. So that would be something we definitely don't want to have happen. So we want to make sure, but what happens is a lot of times we are flattening our backs by posteriorly tilting our glutes, so tucking our glutes under, because we're thinking it's an anterior pelvic tilt when it's actually a rib flare. So if you watch here, what we're doing is we're squeezing the heck out of our glutes, making them inefficient, and squeezing the heck out of our abs to get that back flat. And look what happens here. So here I am. I'm showing how I posterior pelvic tilted. And if you can see that cinching in here and all of this pressure right here, that is not a good strategy. So I'm pulling pressure in, and you can see that's bulging right there. It's not the best lighting, but you can see a little cinch of pressure there. So that again is not necessarily going to help with a lot of the issues we're talking about. So now I'm going to show you one where I pulled my ribs down to get rid of the rib flare. So I pulled on my inhale, on my exhale, I really brought my rib cage down to be more in line with my pelvis. So here we go. So I'm nice and flat, but I brought the rib cage down. And now I'm going to go into an overhead press, keeping that way. And you see there is no bulge of pressure there. It's nice and flat, nice and even. I'm getting good in and out. That is how it should look for every core exercise. So we should not be tucking the glutes. You may have to tuck them a little bit, but a lot of us are over tucking them to get the back flat. We need to think about getting the rib cage down in line and watching that rib flare, and then managing that pressure, getting a deep breath in where the ribs expand and blowing out and letting the ribs come down and across to kind of manage those pressures. And we should feel that breath with every exercise. So if you're doing a sit-up or a flutter kick and you can see that pressure, you're cinching in, you're not able to breathe all the way through, you're more likely to get hurt. Maybe back off into where you can feel yourself breathing all the way down and all the way up. I hope this helps. Reach out with questions.